Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to my YouTube channel. I'm here with Tim Hoffman, um, close personal friend, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years now I guess, maybe?
Yeah, probably four-ish.
Yeah.
I've been in town almost 5 years.
Yeah, so I moved here not too long after you did. So, also one of my employers at the Public Perk, a library coffee shop that I've been fortunate enough to call home the past year. Been around about a year now. So sitting down with Tim, and he's going to take his chance to ask me 3 questions about this upcoming El Salvador venture.
Yeah. So I'm excited to ask you and to catch you now because you just got back from a trip there for a week. And it was your first trip to El Salvador since you decided you're going to go there one way later this year.
Yep.
So I have some questions relating to how this recent trip went for you and how you are sort of processing things now and how you were processing them while you were on the trip.
Right.
With your different idea about what the future of you there is going to look like.
Right.
So the first question I wanted to ask you was what was most surprising to you on this trip to El Salvador? What was there anything unexpected that popped up, or something that surprised you now that you have a sort of different perspective on what it means to be there?
Yeah, and that was something that was huge going into this trip, was just me looking at it that way of, hey, the next time I come here, I do know for sure when I'm coming back just because I bought my plane tickets to come back at Christmas time, but not knowing for sure when this would be the end. Or, I've always went with the, okay, this is a 1-week trip or a 2-week trip or a month trip. So yeah, it was a lot different perspective. I guess the one thing that stands out that surprised me was being there for the anniversary celebration with Daniel and his group. It was their 15th year anniversary. So in the culture, the quinceañera is a big deal. It's something special to celebrate. So Daniel kind of views CDMFA as his daughter, so it was like a huge celebration for that. And the surprise for me was just the amount of people that showed up. Maybe 500-600 people throughout the day showed up just to acknowledge what he and Daisy have been able to do, what his dedication and his commitment have done, what his faithfulness and just obedience to what God's called him to, just sticking it out for 15 years. 15 years doing anything's tough, let alone in a thing where you're not always going to see fruits or something immediately. It takes time. So that was probably a big surprise to me, was just how many people honestly showed up just to support him and acknowledge the organization and just celebrate that.
Were most of those people El Salvadorian?
Yeah, so there was, I would say the majority of them were local people.
Okay.
But it was really cool because there was countries that were represented were the United States, Costa Rica, Peru, and Australia. There was a couple there from Australia. So it was just cool to see, again, not just El Salvador, but how global it is, what he's reaching people. There was a lady from Germany there. So yeah, it was cool to see just different countries represented as well.
Cool. Awesome. So, my next 2 questions are regarding your October move down there.
Okay.
Your permanent, semi-permanent, whatever it turns out to be, move. What is one thing that became clearer to you on this trip in particular? Like, you got a better idea of some aspect of what's coming up for you. What was something that was made clear to you?
I got a lot of clarity on why I'm going.
Okay.
For me, it's a big move. It's scary. It's different to even think about living somewhere else, let alone out of the country. But for me, there was just overwhelming clarity as far as why to go and to serve. So I've really tried to make myself relax as far as I know why I'm going, I know why I feel called to go, and it is to serve. So for me, the pressure's kind of gone away as far as the fundraising and just where I was focused on, okay, how am I going to make money? Am I going to be able to find a job there? Do I need to look at doing something online where I can generate revenue? I kind of lost focus of just from Father's Day or Easter rather, when I had this calling, to now I'd kind of got sidetracked mentally by that versus the ultimate goal of why am I going? I'm going to serve. So that was one thing I got really good clarity on was I've been called to serve, and that's what I want to do. So I'm trying to stay focused on that and just know that that's why I'm going, and everything else will work out. So
Sweet. And then my last question is the tough one, and that's what's still unclear or worrisome to you about the move?
There's a lot of unknown. It's just the daily life. It was hot when we were there. Not that it's not hot here right now. It's probably cooler there, but just the weather and the potential for getting ill from water, from food, or whatever. Just the, I was sitting there thinking about it the other day, and in October, I'm not going to have a car. I'm not going to have a mailbox. I'm not going to have these things that I've had my whole life, pretty much. I'm not going to have okay, this is where I go to work and I punch in, and then on Friday I get a paycheck, and that allows me to buy these things and do these things. I'm totally dependent on God, and then on you guys, people that are going to help support me and do those things. So that for me is just the thing that I'm having a hard time letting go of, and just finding the peace in is just turning that over to where it's I'm not responsible for myself anymore, as far as what can I do to support myself. So I have to trust in that. So I guess that's the one unnerving thing still, is just that fact of I'm not going to have the things that I've had most of my adult life. I'm not going to have a job that I've had since I was 16 years old and old enough to work.
Right.
I've always put myself in that mentality of, if I work harder, I can make more money. If I have to get a second job, I can get a second job. All that goes away because I can't legally work in the country. So, yeah, that's the thing that I still struggle with, just finding the peace in of, okay, but that's what I feel again as part of the calling, is just to be totally dependent on God to make it happen. So that's probably the thing I still wrestle with the most consistently.
Do you know what it looks like, what your monthly expenses might pan out to be?
Yeah, so if you go to my Patreon site, I've got it kind of laid out there, and I mentioned in the video I shot last week where after talking with Daniel and discussing, I have to pay rent there. We have a mission house that I'm allowed to stay in, but I have to pay rent. So he has expenses associated with that property. So after talking through it with Daniel and figuring out, I gotta rent, I gotta have a cell phone, so I can do these cool videos, I gotta eat, I still have a vehicle here, so I have to pay a little bit of insurance. I think my insurance is like $20 a month for it to be in storage or whatever. So I'm figuring it'll be somewhere between $800 and $1,000 a month is what it will cost me for everything all in. And within that, just being totally transparent, I figured I may have to leave the country every 90 days because I only get a 90-day visa.
Okay.
But when I go in October, I'll start the process for a 1-year visa, which may take up to 8 months to obtain my first 1-year visa. So it's kind of a lengthy process, just a paperwork game with the government of being able to provide them why I'm there, who I'm working with, how I'm generating revenue to support myself, just proving that I'm not there to do anything bad. So I may have to leave the country every 90 days for up to 72 hours and then return to the country. Within that, I've been able to figure in, okay, if I get this much money a month, then I'll be able to put X amount back to help cover for that expense every 3
Sure.
months potentially.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you.
Cool. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this with me. Stop by and see Tim, the Coffee Mess inside the Little Donut Factory, or the Public Perk at the library. Just about anywhere in Hilliard. If you're getting coffee at a local coffee shop, you're drinking Tim's coffee somewhere. So
Somewhere.
stop by, check him out. Like I say, he and Jordan both have been huge catalysts in this whole thing. They've always been super supportive of what I've done. They've bared with me through some tough times of trying to figure things out in the spur of the moment. Hey, I'm leaving, I gotta go. They've always supported that, so that's huge and that's special to me. So thanks for everything. Thanks for the time, for the 3 questions.
Heck yeah.
We will see you guys next time.
See you next time.
Thanks, guys.